My name is Barkley. I'm the current product and growth lead at Luma AI. We're basically a AI 3D company that wants to make 3D as an art form, as a content that's available to everyone. So imagine if you're going to any of these Halloween party tonight, and what usually you would do is like you take out your phone and you take a photo or like take a video, right? That's what commonly what most people can do with their phone these days, with any type of phones. But what we're trying to do at Luma AI is to actually capture any moments that you've been to, any of these events, any of these scenes, any of these objects, and then turn them into 3D. So the idea is that 3D is going to be something that we interact on a day-to-day basis, and then it's something that we see with our bare eyes. However, we are only able to see everything in this like 2D representation right now with all of the photos, with all of the videos. But we've been working on how to enable them into real like 3D objects. Content is going to evolve, right? Like TikTok has been popular for the past 7 to 8 years. But before TikTok, it was all YouTube. It was all long-form video content. And then before that, like we have Instagram. And then even before Instagram, we have Twitter, which is from text to image to video, and then to more of these kind of short-form, interactive, engaging content. So what we're trying to work at Luma AI is to define what the next era of like art form or content look like. So what we see for the future of content is that 3D is actually the medium that we see as everyone we see right now that's in front of you, that's beside it, everything we see right now, we see it in 3D. Right? But when we take out a phone to take a video, to take a photo, that's only in 2D. So 3D, what we think is the actual representation of reality, and also how we think and imagine. Like we think in a way of 3D, we dream in 3D, we imagine things in 3D, but we can only describe it in a form or express it in a form of like images or text that is purely 2D based. So how do we exactly like express what we are imagining to others? Like Midjourney is one of the good examples of like being able to turn our ideas, being able to turn something at the lower dimension, something like text, into images. And what we're trying to do is to be able to take that lower content format, basically text and images, and be able to turn them into 3D. And in a way, it creates a new art form for us to channel expression and thoughts to really understand what other people are talking about when we are describing or when we're showing things to them. It's direct, like the way we are previously we were taking things with a phone, but then right now we are dealing with crafting an art piece, like really being able to join the creation process and then see what we want to express it. And then it's not a gradual process. Like 3D creation takes currently a more amount of effort than taking a photo, but it gets better with effort with all of these. So it's not a linear path from getting from point A to point B. It's actually a series of trial and errors of like getting into different kind of like creatives to be able to think about what can we create, what are the things that can be best shown to people. So here I was just like putting up a bunch of examples from millions of like Luma creators actually from the past year of what they have been creating using the app. Oh wait, sorry, some of these did not play. Oh, okay. Yeah, some of the videos is not playing, but is it possible to click on this one? It should automatically starts? Oh, okay. Okay, but actually what may be better to show is if you have your phone right now, if you have like the camera on your iPhone, you can actually scan this like interactive QR code and then be able to see what kind of like the captures that we have. So this is actually from one of our creators who's based in Colorado, which he uses the drone to scan this like 3D like a Colorado state capitol. So if you've never been to Colorado, or imagine someone that's like out in the world who have never been to the United States, this is something that you can get to and play around and then see on your phone of like how all of these things are rendered in 3D, how it actually is. And then what's more amazing is that if you actually go and download the Luma app, you can actually go into the AR environment on your cell phone and then be able to experience it in real life. So with the current media, with all of these phones, with all of these laptops on our hand, we believe 3D can be a format that can provide interactiveness, that can provide people with something that they can experience, that they can interact with, not just being a simple consumer experience. But imagine in the future, if VR devices become more popular. As a matter of fact, we can experience the Luma captures, the Nerve, the 3D reconstructions on your Quest 3 or Vision Pro. If it's becoming more prevalent in the future, you can actually relive these things and relive these memories. So imagine we're in this conference hall over here, but everyone leaves tonight, and then if someone else has come in tonight and I want to get a recap of what happened in this AI-fied day, they can actually put on put up their phone or put on their camera or their VR lenses, and they'll be able to experience it in real life of how this will be if someone gets this whole thing being captured. So it's a way to relive our moment, to really be able to see what the kind of 3D interactive content is there. So yeah, if everyone can scan this scene, you can see the 3D rendering of the Colorado State Capitol on your phone, and then be able to play around with it. So this is thanks to some of the technologies that we have seen in the past years with the development of Nerve, with the development of Gaussian spatting, and then be able to experience the real-time rendering. So all of these is rendered in real time, and then be able to drag around to stop at any point to go explore every aspect of this particular scene. Thank you, Stephen. If you can go back to the slide. Yeah. So what do we think the future leads us to? The future of video and 3D contents is eventually being able to give us an immersive world experience with all of these composable scenes to create sets, to create different kind of experiences where people can enjoy and experience and interact with it in real life. So we, in the past year, we have also integrated ourselves into the Unreal Engine. So there's a Luma plugin that can be plugged into Unreal and then be able to compose these virtual production scenes with Unreal Engine and then capture these scenes to export them into different kind of 3D formats. So with these technologies, what we hope in the future this could be useful is with Luma, everyone can be able to create the kind of quality of demos that you usually show on an Apple advertisement. So whenever you see these really cool 3D interactive advertisement from Apple, you'll be able to see them using the Luma tool to be able to scan around the object, even if you're just selling, for example, your house or your shoes that you want to put it on eBay or any of their websites, and then be able to upgrade all of these contents that you currently have, which is just photos and images, to something that can be fully interactive, can be something that can be fully immersive and experiential. So some of these examples are people have been using us to scan shoes, to scan their bags, and then be able to export this in a virtual environment to showcase and then embed onto their own website to showcase these kind of things that they're selling, that they're trying to advertising. So that's one part where we think the future of 3D could lead us to better shopping experience, better online viewing experiences. Another important use case is, of course, one of the major use cases of 3D as a content format right now is games. Because games is where even if it's on your phone or on your laptop or on a console, it's going to show up in the 3D format. But currently, the barrier to create these games are extremely high. And in fact, it will take production studios at least years to be able to put out a game. But how do we enable more of these user-generated games, right? Roblox is one of the good examples of a game engine being simplified to be able to create interesting interactive experiences, but it's still rather limited because it doesn't allow you to really create those assets. You can only mix and match, and you still need to have some kind of coding experiences enabled to be able create some experience on the Roblox engine. However, with Luma, what we hope is that in the future, when we are having some of our text to 3D AI generation tools, we would enable game developers to use these 3D assets. Either they scan it themselves into a 3D format, or they just type in the text and then be able to generate something in 3D. And then input them into Unity, into Unreal Engine, or even just create an interactive 3D experience, a mini 3D game on their phone, so they can share it to their friends. They can share it in a way how they can share a TikTok video right now, and then be able to send it to their friends and pick up a variety on a platform, and then be able to get a significant amount of attractions or bring more fun to the whole the gaming ecosystem. So some of these low scale but powerful editing tools are things that we're working on to make everyone be able to create a unique 3D experiences without the involvement of any of these 3D artists or any of these professional developers that's traditionally needed for the game industry. So some of these examples, this is one of our creators called Ian Curtis. He's an engineer at Niantic. And he actually created this with Luma to capture himself, but also created this experience in Niantic's Ace Wall to be able to show him walking and collecting all of these coins within this environment, or him showing in the in the augmented reality. So either we can capture these kind of people or characters with your phone, with just scanning yourself, or you can actually create in the future with our text to 3D tools to be able to create something that's just by typing in something in a Discord chat. So that's where we hope the gaming experience, the game development experience could be extremely streamlined for these kind of future interactive things. So all in all, we think that 3D will be an important medium for creation, for content, for interactive experiences. And at Luma, we're trying to lower the creation barrier for 3D content and eventually define what the future of entertainment, what the future of gaming could look like. And yeah, that's the end of my presentation. And then we'd love to get any questions or see if anyone have any comments, or you have try out the interactive scenes. Let us know how it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Barkley. So let me raise your hand if you have any questions, and I'll run the mic over. This is amazing, amazing stuff that you guys at Luma have been doing. I've been playing with the application on the iPhone, so if people have not downloaded this yet, it's pretty incredible to capture, just use a video or capture in real time 3D objects, export them in multiple formats. So it's amazing what you're creating, and will be coming out soon.
Yeah, I totally agree. That was a fantastic presentation. My question for you, I do a lot of 3D printing, and currently my setup, I need to have, if I want to do have an object that I want to print, that's, let's say, a spare part, for instance, you have the 3D scanners. Do you foresee an application where you could use this technology for developing a STL file, for instance, for that use case?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 3D printing is a really interesting use case. So, sorry, I can go back to the slide, but then that gaming video that I have seen that earlier, where the Niantic engineer, he kind of scanned himself. Actually, what he did at the time was also put it into Blender. And then be able to clean up some of these rigs, because the thing is with these kind of captures right now, with your phone camera, because you need to get a really good 360 views. Otherwise, there's going to be imperfections in that scene. So it may not be perfectly suited for 3D printing right now. But what you can do, actually, what he does is export this into Blender and then be able to clean up this 3D object. And then just get a clear form where you can export it in any of these 3D format, whether it's OBJ, GB, any of these standard 3D formats that can be printed or can be plugging into any of these game experiences. But I think with the potential of something that we're also working on right now, which is the text to 3D model. That's going to enable creation of like a 3D model right from the start. So whatever you're going to create is actually the model that you're going to get. But that will be more, I think, promising for 3D printing to be able to just type in something to say like I don't know, like a blue Pikachu, and then you can actually choose from the different generations, like the way you are choosing on Midjourney, and then be able to print that version. So the short answer is it may not be quite there with the capture of like the reality objects if you want to print that. But I would say with the text to 3D tool becoming more mature, that's going to be a huge possibility in the future.
Just on a follow-up, I'll pass to this gentleman in a second. Just to follow up on something you touched on there, the text to 3D generation.
Yeah.
I'm working on with an Unreal developer, a sort of text-based game currently, turning it into a real sort of RPG style game. Can you, what sort of requirements do you currently have, or can you foresee a future where you can have let's say a role-playing game that generates, currently we generate, like my product generates a text-based role-playing game that's generated instantly. Could you theoretically do that with a 3D model, like as a human-generated, or whatever the characters that are generated by the text in real time, or is that sort of too kind of hardware intensive at this point, or is there any limitations you can see there?
Yeah, so the speed of generation is something that we are actively working on right now. Currently, to generate a simple 3D model, we can take less than 20 seconds. But then that model probably is not as good of a quality, but it can at least give you different options. So we will generate actually 4 objects in this rough 3D model that you can kind of see how they're going to look like. And then what it can do is to take an extra 5 to 10 minutes to refine that model, so that actually improves on that rendering. And then be able to generate something that can eventually be used. So that tool we currently haven't released yet, but it's a beta version that we're trying out right now. But yeah, I don't know what you're thinking in mind when you say real time, but the whole generating assets pipeline could be completed in less than 20 to 30 minutes, even if you take 2 or 3 tries with it.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Kinesthetic rigging is what that's called. Kinesthetic rigging. They take a model and they can essentially, you could say, move its right arm, move its left arm, get into a pose. It's called kinesthetic rigging. And you could get it from NVIDIA. But I got a question for you. Really cool stuff. Is when it comes to, like he was saying, exporting the things to STL, I've seen a lot of examples where people are just taking standardized camera. It's not an RGBD camera, right, where it's having to use a structured light. How far along are you guys on that for effectively NURB and hole filling when it comes to, when you have to do mesh? When you're rendering the mesh, essentially you get inbound occlusions and things like that. For that, how far along is your Luma AI in essentially rounding that out based upon standardized models? Because you could effectively feed in a model that says this is what a human looks like, and if their leg's missing, fill that hole. Right? That's not very hard. So how close are you guys to that?
So to clarify, were you meaning the 3D generative model, or more of a capture, a nerve reconstruction?
Either way.
Oh, either way. Yeah. So I think it's going to be closer with the 3D generation model, because currently a lot of these data are being trained are these common 3D objects that have been out there that's posted on the web of in the open 3D database. One of the purpose of us having all of these captures is also for us to be able to train a better model to be able to recognize these day-to-day objects. So for example, a real-life human being, or a lot of these real-life objects like chairs, like cameras. Because what's available as the training data for the 3D generated model right now is mostly based on some of these virtual game assets. So they're not exactly the type of objects that we see on a day-to-day basis. So eventually, if we want to say put a more realistic human being into the game, we have to rely on training on a bunch of these like real life captures, and then be able to have a model that can really do well on generating a realistic human being. So currently, I would say the 3D generative model is close to that in that it can generate some kind of like realistic figures, but it will still feel like it's kind of like a toy model. Like it's more like a toy of like you'll be able to tell it's a fake human being. But eventually, if we want to generate something that's realistic, that can be represented and in the form of like what we're seeing on a day-to-day basis when we see other people, that's going to take more training. And then we expect that more and more data comes into our pipeline, we'll be able to get to that model gradually. So yeah, so short answer is not there right now, but that's something that can be, the major barrier is on the data side.
And I imagine that all this generation takes an incredible amount of processing power.
Yes.
And you're basically giving this away, so it's like, it feels like an amazing deal. Can you speak to that at all, or just curious, like obviously, the tokens that people are buying, like maybe in other models, they've got a business model there, but there's still more money probably being poured into compute than there is being incurred by the consumer.
Yeah, exactly. So all of these like takes a certain amount of GPUs that we need to run to train these models, and it's probably like about 20 to even 50 times more of like the processing that is needed for generating an image. So I think like right now we're just like mainly want to get this tool out there because 3D generation or 3D reconstruction is such an early thing that we want more people in this ecosystem to be able to create 3D objects. But also on the other hand, we're trying to reduce our like speed and make the model faster so it doesn't consume as much like CPUs. And then eventually, I think the model that we're gonna adapt is in the first we may have something that's like simple, that's more like a basic quality that can be used, but it's not going to be high quality to be used into game production or any of these like sophisticated like professional environment. But if there's need for that, then we are considering doing something like a subscription plan. But that's going to be in the future. Right now, we're just like opening the tools for everyone to be able to try scanning 3D object. And yeah, it does take a lot of our CPUs or GPU power, but that's also going to be improving in the future.
Any other questions? One last question. If anybody wants to, here we go.
Apologies if it's already been asked or you've answered this, but are you scanning with vision or point clouds or both?
Sorry. Yeah. We're purely based on vision. Yeah. So in fact, like you can have like basically like a 3D photograph of like any of these objects on any of these phones, and then as long as you have those footage, you can upload to Luma and then be able to create that. So it's purely based on vision. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting because isn't your founder actually worked on the LiDAR for the iPhone?
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you're doing purely based on vision when you've got a deep tech stack in actual point clouds and LiDAR.
I think the main reason is because like if you rely on LiDAR, then the device is gonna be limited to I think like iPhone 13 Pro or above, or iPhone 12 Pro or above. I think those are the phones with the actual LiDAR sensors. So that's going to limit the amount of like data that we can capture. But yeah, so with vision, with any of these phones, we're able to reconstruct it. So this is based on NERV and also the recent like Gaussian embedding like technology.
Can I have a second question?
Yeah, sure.
My question is this: what is the latency between? What's the frame rate at which you can capture?
So currently there's the standard frame rate is 40 FPS, but you can like increase that to even higher, like 80 FPS if you choose the settings to do so. Yeah, so right now, if you're capturing the real environment, depending on your capture amount. So if you're trying to capture this like large room, that's gonna probably take longer, like an hour. But if you're just, for example, capturing this small table up there, it's gonna render pretty quick, probably in less than 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'll offer a little pro tip. I found that taking a video in slow-mo, but not super slow-mo, but on the slow-mo mode gives great results. So it smooths out your movement.
Yeah.
And if you're scanning an object, I've been uploading slow-mo videos, so that frame rate obviously is a lot higher, but I'm capturing the image and get great quality results.
Wow, that's an interesting angle. We haven't thought about that. Yeah.
Last clarifying question, and then we'll move on.
Yeah.
No, I'm happy to move on. Are you saying that you're capturing static scenes, not dynamic scenes?
Oh, you mean like yeah? So the capture process is actually like you pull out the app on your phone and then just be able to walk around this scene. So imagine there's a table here. I just need to walk around this to get a 360 scene. That's it.
Okay, Barkley, thanks. Well, hopefully you'll stick around a bit. People can find you. You've got the Luma AI logo on your chest there.
Yeah.
And
if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and then
really appreciate
try out, the app on your phone.